What is going on, family? What you're looking at is the Bitcoin monthly liquidation chart. And to give it to you simply, liquidity is piling up above $90,000, above $80,000, above $70,000. And one thing we know these market manipulators love is getting everybody up, get them trapped in, and then send the markets down. So I'm going to give you some permutations here. We're also going to look at the new Japanese Prime Minister, of course, re-elected with a massive majority, and what the implications are for the market. I'm going to give you some crazy altcoin prices that I have today that you can go and grab. Generational wealth is being made, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Of course, it doesn't go without challenges, and the macro headwinds outweigh anything else in this market. Liquidity, nobody knows. I mean, when I tell you, you can only make a rational decision on what you want to do. And the Bitcoin versus ETH chart shows us very clearly. If we look at first of all, let's start with this chart here. This is the crypto total market cap divided by, taking away or subtracting USDT, dividing by Bitcoin. And what you see here is the October manipulation candle. Now, every other major cryptocurrency has either hit or come close or is going towards that price. That means, should you wait? Well, I'll tell you the reason why I've been saying this for months. Look at Near Protocol. October's liquidation manipulation candle was all the way over here. Okay, so it has broken below a key support level of $1. And it has come to this green box target that we've had for months. Therefore, it is good to go here. You could DCA your way down to 50 cents, whatever the bear market support price was. But many altcoins are exactly the same. Some of the key ones, the ones that have kind of bounced back, XRP has hit that level, right? You could see here it's come to this on the 4th of February, dipped well below it, and then got brought back up. But it is actually slightly weak. So this is not a crazy bounce. But the buy of the day for me is Bittensor TAO. And what do I mean by that? So if you look at TAO USDT on this chart, we have come to our generational demand zone. We have broken below it. And right now, the price has wicked all the way down to these levels that we gave before. Now, of course, you don't have to go all the way in. But again, October candles up here. So you are getting real value. I'm telling you, once liquidity, 6 months to 12 months from now, things will look very different in this market. You may not get the price you want right away, but since you're holding altcoins, it's very important to pay attention to this chart. The other key chart is, if we look at ETH BTC, there is no sign of reversal for altcoins compared to their Bitcoin pair. So this is obviously, this has been, of course, it lost trend here below the moving average, and it has fallen down. So for now, I can confirm altcoins are cheap. Are we going to go all the way down to these levels or the ratio that we've had in previous bull markets? Perhaps not. But right now, it just shows you how far away these altcoins are from their all-time low, and that inefficiency candle could potentially be refilled. So, for example, we looked at ONDO USDT last night, post ONDO summit, and what you're looking at here is ONDO breaking below. Again, I'm not just making this up. This is absolutely with all of the key projects. There's your October manipulation, crazy candle that we were complaining about. Came down to 24 cents, went down to 19 cents, 20 cents here. Of course, ONDO Finance, one of the leaders of the RWA sector, ONDO Summit, was crazy event that I summarized. Maybe I'll do a video on it. But if we break, again, if we break this level, we are heading towards, for the first time ever on ONDO, potentially testing that 20 cent level. But I wouldn't be nitpicking. Right now, key thing is these alts are going down, and they will continue to go down, of course, and you have to take advantage and DCA, because ultimately there are crazy headwinds. Let's have a look at Zebec, CBCN. So if you look at Zebec right now, we came down to this level here. And again, this is on the daily, and it got bought back up heavy. This is the market cap of Zebec, by the way. That's probably the best way to look at this. But we could potentially, right now, we're sitting just above $200 million in market cap. So now let's look at the situation in Japan. So this is something that, that people need to pay attention to this sort of stuff, because it is going to be a factor in the headwind, macro headwind. So as you know, Japanese Prime Minister got elected with a slim majority. She went back in, got a massive majority, and now clearly she can increase spending, of course, and that will lead to a situation that we've not seen before. Potentially, the carry trade could bear its ugly head. So rising inflation is one of our challenges. Stagnant wages, of course, through government spending, which is our other mandate, and of course, things like staples like rice prices have doubled. Real incomes have declined in Japan. And she's basically promised to suspend Japan's 8% food tax. So major tax cuts, major spending. That means Japanese yield are likely to go crazy. Okay. So these are some of their challenges. And why do I think this will impact the market? Well, it is going to be a massive change. And this has been the biggest victory since the massive win by Shinzo Abe. So this is a historic moment in Japan, and she has all of the powers to now conduct business as she wishes. Stock market responded positively initially, and the Nikkei went up, but it's already setting up new all-time highs before the election. And of course, after that, it got, sectors like defense, AI, chips, all benefited. Now, economic policy and plans for proactive fiscal stimulus, which is largely going to be funded through the issuance of bonds following what they call the Shinzo Abe or the Abenomics approach from the late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Her strong mandate means less needed to negotiate with opposition parties. Her main concerns are stronger position may intensify what's being called the Takaichi trade, which is already being pushed, which has already pushed the Japanese government bonds, right? And that's going to be quite key because the yields to record highs, and they've weakened the yen. So the yen was down around 6 to 8% against the US dollar. And that obviously Japan's debt burden is the largest in the developed world, and that's going to be another thing to consider. So there was a recent stabilization in the bonds market. Of course, it's been more resilient, but higher bonds is going to be a problem for the market. And of course, people or the analysts expect her to balance this proactive fiscal policy with a fiscal discipline. So watch out for that, because of course, this is why you have uncertainty. This is why you have this potential liquidation levels. Everybody gets jolly and we're good to go. And then there's a carry trade. However, that doesn't stop me from accumulating and researching and of course, developing my portfolio to the best it's ever been. That's going to be quite key. In addition to that, we have massive data on schedule that's about to be dropped. So the first thing to kind of put your eyes on is this crazy story, man. I saw, obviously I'm tracking prediction markets. Geopolitical uncertainty is definitely at play. So potential US government insider put a bet of $100,000 for the US to strike Iran by the end of day at 2% odds. You just don't do that, right? Wallet has been inactive for over nearly 550 days, 560 days there. And of course, you can see here, this wallet is quite prolific on getting these things right. Now, let's move over to CPI. CPI data, unexpected increase. Of course, there's going to be some fireworks here. Keep a close eye on these geopolitical events, particularly those involving the strike with Iran, that are likely to influence commodity and broader markets. Okay, so estimates increase, gradual, small, modest increase there, month to month, 0.3. Of course, year on year CPI remains the same. Of course, core is also slightly up. So hot inflation numbers, not good for the markets. Okay. So we will only be able to kind of sigh on Friday, depending on whether US inflation continues to show some kind of easing. Bitcoin continues to underperform all major assets. Okay. ETH is down 24%. Bitcoin is down 16%. Key data there for you. And then we move over to something that I've been monitoring, which is the US labor markets. Now, January alone saw the US market lose around 600,000 jobs. It's not being fully reported, of course, but the Fed is worried. These are bad job numbers. And of course, inflation is also another thing to watch. But if you look at the BLS, if you look at the unemployment rates, this is going to be the one key factor that the Fed is going to have to deal with. And could we see a change in Fed policy? Of course, potentially. Why? Because if you look at the Fed's, if you look at the watch tool, right, you can clearly see that there's only 17% chance in 36 days that the Fed will cut rates. Now, the markets at the moment, the way the macro is stacked up, markets are not necessarily reacting on even rate cuts, right? There's this massive unwinding trade over there in Japan. And of course, this is going to be quite it's going to be quite a watch. But I do expect, as we go into this labor situation, with tech stocks and AI and the impact, I do expect these numbers, or you should be able to monitor these numbers in the next month or so, because I can see some type of Fed fear if inflation comes in decent today, but the job market is, or tomorrow, and the job market is still really bad, that really, really puts the Fed into a very uncompromising situation. So watch out for that. Of course, as always, key projects like SUI are now officially under $1. I don't know what you guys are waiting for, but we discussed in the Discord that we are going to DCA or for, while the prices remain this absolute stupid low. Of course, it could go a little bit lower and a little bit lower, but what I'm saying is 3 to 6 months time, or as and when we see the ETH BTC chart have an uptick, I think that's when we are likely to be even more bullish. We've lost an important trend. You can see also here, we've been in a consistent downtrend versus Bitcoin. We know that the total market cap in terms of the total 3 is also very weak. So lots to go through, but I go back to this, right? There's once in a lifetime where you see things clear, like, generational buys are already available to you. Bittensor TAO swimming around $150 is insane, so Kaspa as well. Could Kaspa come back down after the recent announcements of the Kaspa smart contracts, DeFi, and all of that coming in the summer? So it's another one to watch. Again, Kaspa is not one of the ones that hit their lows, and that was going to be an incredible buy if we do get there. So there's a lot to take in, but overall, I'm just focusing on core assets, and I can't get money soon enough. I'm deploying stablecoin steady, having a plan. Of course, you listen to the so-called experts in crypto. The only thing that we know, once the liquidity and the macro headwinds improve, and we get all of these black swans out of the way with the new Fed chair, I think the next 6 months, perhaps the next 12 months, will be potentially huge in your life. So stay steady. Of course, I gave you the lower prices. We've looked at the 300-week moving average, where no one's talking about, but that's where we went in the last cycle. We've looked at the fact that every other cycle, apart from last cycle, the bottom was at the 200-week moving average. So have a lovely, lovely Tuesday, guys. And smash a like. It's an important video. I think you should share it with people. At least give me a like, whatever, all of those good things. God bless you all. Have a lovely day.